Yes.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to More Than Words podcasts and interviews. I'm your host, Alison Kelly. Today, our guest is called Pam Thompson. Now, she is a transformation coach, and she's going to be talking to us about that bloody saying, life begins at 40. So let's talk about that, Pam. Hello, first of all, how are you?
Hello. I'm very well. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be
Oh,
part of this. So thank you.
you're welcome. So, first of all, can you tell us a little bit of who you are, what you do, and why you're here?
So, like you said, my name's Pam Thompson. I'm a transformation coach and predominantly working with women over 40. When I turned 40, I'm now 42. And when I turned 40, I had the biggest meltdown you could ever imagine, right? I woke up one morning and I just thought, what the hell am
Yeah.
I doing with my life? Um, Now I did have a mini meltdown when I turned 30 as well because my 20s were gone, right? And it was like I was getting older, but turning 40, there was just something that was just different. It was, like when you wake up and you notice the aches and the pains,
Oh, yeah.
and like your body's changing, and you start to reflect on life. And I got to that stage very just I was literally just after turning 40, and I turned 40 as well during COVID lockdown, right? So
Oh,
there was no
no.
big celebrations, there was no big parties, it just came and went. But it was one of those ones where I don't know, something just clicked, right? Something just changed massively within my mind that I just began to shut down, right? I just withdrew from life itself. I was like, what am I doing with my life? Do I enjoy my job? What's the point of life? What's the meaning of life? Like you say, right? Life's meant to begin at 40, and I felt like I was going backwards. So over the last 2 years, I've been really working on me
Mm.
and trying to figure out who I am, because I lost myself. I just didn't know who I was, what was important to me anymore. And now that I've finally got all that figured out, and I've, like I say, worked on myself for the last two
Yeah.
years and reconnected with myself, understand who I am, living my values, all that good stuff. This is where now it's time for me to help other women who are either coming up to that stage or are past that stage and are thinking to themselves, you know, what happens now? Where do I go? And that's now ultimately my mission in life is to empower other women and help transform their lives.
Do you know what? I wish that I had someone like you to talk to when I was that that stage of 40. Because like you said, you get life begins at 40 and you think that's it. Everything when you're 40, you're gonna know it, you're gonna be
Yeah.
planned, and it's a pressure. It is a pressure. For me, life began at 50. So what you're saying is, do you know what? We're quite similar because you're a transformation coach. So for those who don't know me, I'm an empowerment coach. So I try and help people to feel empowered, and that is finding purpose in their life.
Yeah.
And I think when you were 40, that's mostly what hit you. It was like,
100%.
yeah,
100%. Like I say, I did not know who I was anymore.
yeah,
I was constantly working in a job that at the time, right, I thought I hated. And there was a whole big stigma around what my career had been over the last 20 years. I'd had a successful career, right? Worked in the corporate world, had a really successful career, worked for the same company for 14, 15 years, and, been promoted many times. But I just, in my mind, in my head, right, that was the root of all my problems,
yeah,
because I hated my job, I hated life, right? Whereas it wasn't that at all. It wasn't that at all. It was just my mindset was so I was so inside myself that I couldn't actually see what was happening in front of me. I couldn't see all the good things I had around me. I couldn't identify what it was that I wanted to do, because literally I had this thought in my head that You know, it wasn't my fault. It was everyone else's fault that my life was so bad.
Yeah.
When really my life wasn't bad at all. But mentally, I just could not get over that at all. And you know, like I say, I withdrew, came into myself. I've always been an introvert anyway, but I cut friends off, cut family off, you know, and just really didn't want to do anything, didn't want to see anyone, was having panic attacks when I left the house, you know, like all those things that come with the anxiety that I built up within myself.
But you also
It
had
was
the
all in my,
anxiety,
it's all in my
sorry to
head.
interrupt, but you also had the anxiety of COVID because it was all,
Well, yeah,
you
yeah,
know, that as
that too.
well on
That
top.
as well. On top
So,
of all that, there was that. But
yeah,
yeah,
what
yeah.
advice would you give then to somebody who is approaching 40s and they're like, you know, they might be sitting there thinking, right, like you did, you know, what that uncertainty, what advice could you give someone approaching their 40s?
First thing is to accept it, right? Don't
Yeah,
fight it. Like I tried to fight. I was like, I'm not turning 40. I'm still in my head, right? But even though you're turning 40, in your head, you can be whatever age you want to be, right? It's totally fine. But accept it. Don't fight it because I fought it for so long. Just accept it and embrace where
yeah,
you are right now in life, right? Just embrace where you are, whether you know you are for me, you know, I don't have kids, but I had a very, very successful career. But I couldn't see that I was successful. Now I look back on my corporate career and I'm extremely proud of what I achieved. But just, you know, take stock of what's around you. Have a look at your family, have a look at your friends, you know, identify things to be grateful for because there's always things in front of you that you can't see. And if you just stop for a minute
yeah.
and take in your surroundings, you're going to actually see how lucky you actually are. Right. So that's the first thing I would say is just accept it and embrace right where you are now in life.
Yeah.
Your mindset is extremely important though as you move into this. I like to call it the midlife shift, right? So that's kind of like what my program is. It's the midlife shift because we're moving into another part of life, right? Where, you know, women may have kids who are now
Yeah.
grown up and empty nesting, you know, and all that type of stuff. So think about where you are, check in your mindset, right? Where, you know, are you positive about things? Is there anything that you need to fix first of all in here? Because if you need to fix anything inside, work on that first before you start to do anything else. Because once we've got inside right, everything on the outside, right, becomes a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah.
So think about what it is that is going on, either in your heart, in your head, whatever,
Mm.
and sort that out first.
Yeah.
And then once you've got that and you've got yourself in a good place, then think about what does your future look like? And
Yeah.
then once you've got that picture, that's when you can start to then build and think about what your future looks like. Where do you want to be by the time you're 50? And then you
Yeah.
start working on it, right? Because I feel that for people that were born in the 70s and the 80s, I think, right, and before that, right, but particularly for people that are born in the 70s and the 80s, I think that we are the luckiest people on earth, right? I'm going to tell you why. It's because we remember a time before social media. We
Yep.
remember a time before the internet,
Yeah.
right? We had
Culture
so
Club.
much fun.
Sorry.
Oh, it's culture.
We had Culture
Yeah,
Club
right.
and Adamant.
And Adamant, for me, it was take that, right?
Yeah,
So,
there you
you know,
go.
right. So we had so much fun in our youth
Yeah.
and such, you know, we grew up in such a fantastic time. I was a teenager in the 90s and I would not swap that for anything. So, you know, but we've got that experience, right? People that are born after that, that experience is gone.
Yeah.
And we can look back now when we're at this midlife shift, right? This midpoint in life and go, well, I did all that. I
Yeah.
did all that and I've got nothing to come back and haunt me. My mistakes are made.
Yeah.
So that was my life. What do I want the next part of my life to look like? Because life in the world is completely different. So, you know, how do we fit in? Because we're still young enough to learn the new things that are coming up, like all this crazy AI things and all that are coming up. We're still young enough to learn that and understand that and incorporate that into our future.
Yeah.
And that's
Definitely.
where I genuinely think that now and it's only taken me 2 years to get here, but I now love being in my 40s. I think it's the greatest thing ever. And I'm so looking forward now to future because I've got my future pathed out. I know where I'm going. I know where I want to get to.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't just stopped for that minute or woke up that morning and thought, what the hell am I doing? I don't know where I'd be.
No.
Genuinely don't know where
No.
I'd be.
See, I totally get where you're coming from, where you say, if your mind isn't right, if you're not right, if you're not thinking right, feeling right inside here, everything else won't fit in place. So, with me, I always say self-care. So
Oh,
self-care. So a lot of things as well, and I don't know if you agree with this. So a lot of things. So I teach people the fact that being able to say no to others and yes to yourself is number one, because you feel guilty. You feel guilty for that, and like you said, we've got so much going on. So you need to be able to look at what you've done, where you are, but also where do you want to go? What is it you want? So what you're saying, it hits so well. So I'll be 60 in 4 years.
oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, 60. I know. I look 80. But anyway, so I'm coming up to my 60s, and for me, I still feel young.
Yeah.
But my mindset has changed. So like you, Pam, I wasn't thinking right. I was putting the blame on the world and stuff like that. And I've had to change my mindset and
Yep.
shift my way of thinking to be able to say, I feel empowered and I feel proud and I'm ready to take on what life has got to give.
Yeah.
But there was a time in my life where I was like, oh my word, I'm coming up for 40, I'm coming up for 50. But now I can actually say I'm coming up for 60 and still feel quite
Yeah.
positive. It's brilliant.
That's it.
It's
Yeah, but
brilliant.
that's what I mean by just embracing it, because there's no
Yeah.
point in fighting against it. We can't change it, right? We can't go back, right? We always have to be looking forward. And I lived as well for a very, very long time. I lived in the past for a very
Mm.
long time, right? And I lived in, like I got married in my 20s, divorced in my 20s, and then moving through my 30s, I blamed the situation that I was in my 30s because of what happened in my 20s. And, it was a vicious circle, right? And it was, when I look back, I go, right, well, my 20s were what it was, right? Got married, got divorced, whatever. My 30s, I I went off the rails a little bit in my early 30s, not gonna lie. Became a little bit rebellious, and then just threw myself into my work, right? Because that's all I could see was ahead of me was, right, well, relationships are done. I'm just gonna be working on my career. And I don't regret that because, like I say, I had an extremely, like, very, very successful career, but it just didn't fulfill me, right? It's just, what else is it that I want to do? Like, what do I want to do for the next 25 years up until, well, actually, yeah, 25 years to retirement, right? What is it that I want to do? What is actually going to make me get out of bed every day and look forward to the day rather than get out of bed and think, oh, what are we doing now? Or it's just the same thing and living that Groundhog Day type lifestyle. That just really hit home for me, like I say, when I turned 40, because I just thought, I just cannot go on like this, because if I kept going the way I was going, like I say, I've got no idea where I would be.
Yeah.
It's just, in here was just so messed up.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. So
Do you think the what I said at the beginning, when I said to you, life begins at 40, do you think that just that one sentence, do you think that actually puts pressure on how we look at things?
I think so. I
Yeah.
definitely think so, because like I used to always hear that, right? Life begins at 40. So you would be like, all right, okay, so I'll do everything that society wants me to do up until I get to 40. And then all of a sudden, I'll be able to just do it whatever I want. In reality, you can't do that. You've still got a house, you've still got bills, you've still got a job. Like, I think for me as well, this is something as well that I've really realized since working on doing the coaching and seeing that there's another way is that for so many years I lived my life the way society told me I had to live my life.
Yeah.
And growing up believing that I had to do the things that I do. And that's why I'm saying now we're so lucky because we've got so much life experience behind us at this stage of life, right? We've got, like I said, we've made the mistakes, but now society's changing, the world's opening up. We've got so much at our fingertips that we can actually do by, and I'm not one of these people, right, who preaches about building an online business and you're going to be rich overnight, right? That is, it's not about the money for me. It's about what do I want to do with my life that's going to have an impact on others, but also in me? Because if I know that I help one person from feeling like life's over when you've reached a certain age, or that you feel like you're too old to make a difference, to make a change to your life, if I can help that, just that one person, and I know that's quite a bit of a cliche when you say that, but if I can do that, then that just makes me feel like the richest person in the world, because
Definitely.
it's just, and that's the difference between the career that I've had up until now to what my future career is, because I know that I'm going to make an impact on people's lives and show people that it's possible, and I know it's possible because I've done it.
Yeah.
So that's and that's the thing that really, really inspires me to do things like my coaching and my Facebook groups and everything else, is to put things out there to be like, it's never too late. And that's the other thing as well. Like if anyone watching this takes a message and you're sitting thinking, yeah, that sounds familiar and that's hitting with me, just know that it's never too late. And if you're thinking that you're too old to make that change, flip it in reverse, right? Because there's so many people as well that will go, oh, I'm too old now, I'm not going to start making changes. Nah, you have to use today as the first day of the rest of your life and start to make even the tiniest little changes can make a huge difference. Whether it doesn't even have to be changing career or anything like that. A lot of people enjoy their career, but it could be something that just maybe you want to volunteer for someone, maybe you want to go and help a charity, maybe you want to do little things, give back to your community. Just things like that can completely change the way that you feel inside.
Definitely.
And really can make you live a really fulfilled life. And that's ultimately it's what we're here for, right? So I would just remind people that if they are sitting thinking, well, yeah, it's easy for others to say it, you just have to make that first step, but it's knowing what that first step is that can be the difficult thing.
I think that's it. Like you said, Pam, it is knowing, because some people don't even realize there's anything wrong. They're quite happy to just go along with life and life's fine. And then all of a sudden, something happens and it's like a brick wall, a brick's just hit you, isn't it? And it's like, wow, wait a minute, where's my life gone? And you start panicking, because the older you get, we do think I haven't got long, or I might have 30, or I might have 40 years if I'm lucky, and this is, then you start that panicking, isn't it? And then you start, oh, I've got to prepare for life, and it's just so much pressure that is put on us.
So much. But it's back to your point as well, though, is that you need to make sure that you're right. So you have to be number one. You just have to be, right? And I'm also a big one for self-care, right? And self-care, some people might say, oh yeah, self-care, it's like a day at the spa, or things. It's not that, right? It's just like you say, having the confidence to say no to someone. If you don't want to do it, don't do it, right? Like that's probably step one to happiness, is don't do things that you don't want to do.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
And that's it, just little things. Like I've started exercising more recently. I'm changing my diet because I also know that getting to this stage, like I say, my body's changing and I can feel it massively in my body. Hitting that big M word that I don't really want to say right now because I'm not quite there yet. Right? But,
I am. Yeah,
but,
I'm not mentioning it, but we all know what we're on about.
We all know what we're talking about. But like this is the things as well, though, that I talk about in my group is that we need to get prepared for it. And that's what I'm trying to do now, is prepare myself for knowing what's coming, knowing what's ahead. And that's also because I've brought so much self-awareness to myself by fixing out my mindset and looking at the future. is, if you bring that self-awareness, you can actually start to prepare for some of these things that inevitably are going to happen in life. So by knowing what is ahead and knowing what you can do now to help that, before, like you say, like just being in there and then all of a sudden just being hit by a bus and saying, oh Christ, what happened there? You can actually start to go, right, I've got that in the future. I know that has to happen, or I want to work towards that. These are the steps I need to take now to make that happen. And it's
Definitely.
all about that planning and and thinking about where you want to be, what you want to do, and ultimately what's coming in the future, and how do you start preparing for that now.
Do you know, I love talking to you, Pam, because when we're talking, it's like so we're both coaches, but we're not so opposite, but we've got not different views either. We're just different in what we're doing. So it's like having an ice cream. You've got vanilla, you've got chocolate. They both taste the same. Both taste amazing, but at the end of the day, they're different.
Yeah.
That's what me and you are like,
Absolutely.
So with what you were just saying about, looking at what you want, identifying what you want. So, with me, I felt when I got to my 40s that I should have it all now. I should have my life sorted. And I was in a dead-end relationship. My son was going through a lot in his time. It was really a horrible moment. I hit 50 and I was like really happy. My life had changed so much. So for me, life began at 50. Yeah. So now what I do is, like you, I help women to identify, because that's what you're saying, identify the area. Basically, identify what is it you want, what is stopping you from achieving your goals. And like we said, put yourself first, ladies and men, because there's men that be watching this. Yeah, just put yourself first, because the thing as well is, we're saying life begins at 40. What about when they say the negative part, you're having a midlife crisis?
Oh,
let's talk about that, Pam. I hate that.
midlife crisis.
Well,
Oh,
everything gets
geez.
blamed on it, doesn't it?
Everything.
A man says, do you know what? I'm going to do something for myself. I'll go and buy myself a sports car. He's having a midlife crisis.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, he's trying to hang on to his youth. Are we not all trying to hang on to our youth? Like, come on. Like, like let's be like, let's just call a spade here. Like, no
Exactly.
one wants to get old, right? And if someone wants to go and buy a sports car, or if a woman wants to get her hair done, or Botox, or whatever it may be, right? See if that's what you want to do.
Do it.
Do it,
And
right?
feel empowered.
100%. Like, I used to cringe, right, when people would say, just live your best life. But it's actually true, because see, if we sit and if we start to think about what everybody else thinks of us, we're never going to do anything.
No.
Like, you're never going to do anything. One of the one things that I started to realize is that I had some negativity in my life and I had to get rid of it, right? Because they do say as well that you are like a mirror image of like the 5 or 6 closest people to you. And if you do have people who, if you, let's just say your friends are, they just want to go out still every weekend, go down the pub, whatever, but you're craving something else, to be like, actually, no, like, I can't do the hangovers anymore. I wanna spend my money and go on holiday, or I want to go to this country. You do whatever you want to do. Don't forget about trying to fit in with your friends anymore. We did that when we were teenagers, right? So
Exactly.
you have to do what you want, because it's your life, it's no one else's.
Yeah.
So you want that sports car, buy that sports car.
Yeah.
That's what I would say to anybody that comes to me, and just do not think about anyone else that's going to say anything. And especially all your Facebook friends who you've probably never met before in your life anyway, because they're going to put a negative comment on something that you post.
Yeah, it's so true, Pam. I love that.
Yeah.
The way that you're thinking, and there's mostly people listening now going, you know what, Pam's bloody right, Alison's right, because let's face it. So my favorite quote is, yesterday is but a reflection, today is now, and tomorrow's a bonus. So if I would reach out to any of our listeners now and say to them, if I'm hitting a nerve, or if Pam's hit a nerve and you're sitting there and you're thinking, do you know what? I totally get where Pam's coming from. I really need to maybe get my life in check and stop feeling so bloody guilty and so down on myself. Then that's amazing, because like you said, if we can help one person from
Yeah,
today's, that's all we need.
absolutely.
That's all we want.
Absolutely. And the one thing I would say as well is that don't bottle up things inside,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because that was something else that I was doing. Like I
Yeah.
say, like I shut myself off from everyone, right? The only person I would say would be my mum, right? I took days to reply to text messages, or, like just anytime I got invited anywhere. And this wasn't just like obviously during the COVID times, but it was before that as well. Leading up to it, I'd have a friend who would invite me out numerous times, like with her group of friends, right? Come along, and I'd be like, yeah, yeah, okay. And then on the day, I would think up of an excuse, right? Oh, the dog's not well, I need to stay in, or I feel guilty about, getting my mum to look after the dog. Ultimately, it was because I didn't want to go,
Yeah.
right? Now, I would say, I didn't really fancy that, I'm not coming. Like, like I would just be honest.
Because
But
you
again,
found the confidence, Pam. Is
yeah,
that why?
yeah, because I no longer feel like I have to make excuses to not do things that I don't want to do, right? Because if I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it. It's as simple, it's as simple as that. And people can either like that or not,
Like
right?
we
But
said, say no to others and say yes to yourself without feeling
that's the
guilty.
thing. That's the thing. Like, and my friend, the friend actually who used to invite me out to a lot of things over the years, actually said to me not that long ago, she was like, you're a changed woman, because I used to ask you to come to so many things and you would just make an excuse. She was like, I knew that you were in the house with your dog watching, Saturday night TV. She's like, but you would just be polite, or try and be polite and make an excuse.
Yeah.
And then I would say, yeah, but what about now? And she says, well, now if I ask you to do something, you're a changed woman. You will do it. But we've actually changed things, right? So it's no longer I'm not really one for going to the pub, sitting down,
Mm,
drinking every weekend, right? That's just not me. So, but we go to live music together, and I
lovely.
love going to live music.
Yeah.
So if she says to me, this band's playing, do you want to go? I'm like, yeah, let's go, because it's
Brilliant.
what I want to do, right?
Brilliant.
So, but she sees me now as a changed woman, but it's only because I'm now doing, and I now feel empowered at this stage in my life to say, I'm only going to do the things that make me happy, because I'm looking after me.
I'm so proud of you. Well done, you. Do you know what, Pam? Before we come to a close, can we just let the listeners know if they wanted to get in contact with you? Obviously, they can find this on my YouTube, and they can find it on
Yeah.
our wall, our Facebook wall, and that. But, if they wanted to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you, Pam?
Several different ways, right? So I'm across all the platforms. My username is Pam T Coach on all of the Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all
Excellent.
those
We'll put that on here
platforms.
afterwards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fantastic. So there's that. There's also my website, which is pamthompsoncoaching.com. You can go on there. You can either send me a message, or you can book a call directly with me, absolutely free, no obligation call, just to have a chat, right? And even if someone wants to chat about, do you know what, that thing that you said really struck with me,
give a
message
call.
me, let me know. Message me and let me
Excellent.
know, because I just, I want to hear anybody who's taken anything away from this. So yeah, message me on my website, on the socials. I've also got a Facebook group on it's called the Midlife Shift. If you're a woman over 40, come and join us, because we
Excellent.
talk about things in there. So yeah,
It's a
various
brilliant,
different ways.
brilliant group. I've been on that group. It's a brilliant group. Pam,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you
Thank you
ever
very
so
much.
much. No, it's been lovely. I could before my guest, I feel really bad because I'm like, I've got to bring it to a close, but I could talk and talk forever with you. Amazing.
It's been a
If
pleasure.
anyone if anyone would like to get in contact with me, just go on my Facebook as well. And do you know what? Maybe me and Pam, you might have questions for both of us, and we might be able to do a joint thing. Who knows? Who knows what will
Absolutely.
come from this? Pam,
Love
thanks
it.
again. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Excellent. Thank you, Alison.
Thanks. Bye.